You're about to skip this. I can feel it. Your thumb is already moving, your eyes scanning for the next quick hit of something new, something that might feel better than this moment. But pause for just a second. What if that tiny urge to scroll right now isn't random? What if this impulse to move on, to look for the next answer, the next secret, the next dopamine spark, is the very loop keeping you stuck in the same reality? It's not your fault. Your brain has been trained for decades to chase reward instead of rest. Every notification, every scroll, every little red dot on your screen has rewired your neurons to crave the next something. You think you're seeking truth or inspiration, but most of the time, you're just chasing the next hit of certainty. The next maybe this will fix me. That's why you feel restless even while watching content that's meant to calm you. That's why you finish one manifestation video only to open another. Your nervous system has learned that searching feels safer than stillness, because stillness doesn't feed dopamine. It doesn't feel productive. It doesn't feel like progress, even though it's the only doorway to real transformation. So I'm not here to shame you for scrolling. I'm here to show you that this moment, the one where your brain screams, "Move on," is the exact moment where a new timeline can begin. Because what you're feeling isn't boredom, it's withdrawal. Your mind is detoxing from the endless stimulation that's kept you from hearing your own signal. You didn't stumble onto this video by accident. The algorithm didn't just line up a coincidence. Something in the quantum field, something within your own consciousness, recognized that you're ready to see the pattern behind the pattern. Ready to understand that your greatest block isn't your past, your karma, or your mindset. It's the invisible chemical leash that keeps your awareness tied to endless seeking. And if you can stay for just a few more minutes, we're going to break that loop together. Not through willpower, not through another technique or trick, but by understanding how your brain's craving for the next has hijacked your ability to receive the now. This isn't another video to consume. It's the moment your nervous system begins to unlearn the addiction to seeking. If you can resist the urge to skip, even for 60 seconds more, you've already started the rewiring. Part 2. The hidden addiction. You think you're exploring ideas, but what you've really been feeding is a chemical hunger. Every aha moment, every new technique, every quote that hits just right, it isn't just wisdom, it's dopamine. The same neurotransmitter that fires when someone likes your post or when you check your messages. It's the brain's way of saying, "Good job, keep looking." That's why spiritual content feels addictive. You tell yourself it's growth, but your brain treats it like a slot machine. Each time you click on another video about manifestation, quantum shifting, or shadow work, you get a tiny hit. Not of enlightenment, but of relief. Relief that maybe this one, finally, will explain everything. And when it doesn't, you scroll again and again. Because what you've really been chasing isn't understanding. It's the rush of almost understanding. Most people don't realize that the endless search for awakening is one of the mind's cleverest avoidance mechanisms. Seeking feels like progress. It keeps the ego busy, the mind entertained, the dopamine flowing. But beneath that surface movement lies the same paralysis. You never truly arrive. You just keep circling the idea of transformation without ever landing in the experience of it. Think about how many next steps you've collected. The books, the methods, the teachers. How many times you've thought, "I'm finally close." And yet, the closer you think you get, the more distant peace seems to feel. That's the paradox of the seeker's brain. It's addicted to the pursuit itself. When you're not seeking, you feel withdrawal. You feel empty. And instead of sitting in that emptiness, you run back to another teaching, another video, another promise of clarity. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't need more knowledge. You need to detox from the high of knowing. Because the more you chase understanding, the more your nervous system confuses intensity with insight. And intensity, that rush, that stimulation, is the opposite of alignment. Manifestation doesn't happen through intensity. It happens through coherence. And coherence can't be accessed from a mind in motion. Let me show you how deep this addiction goes. When your brain anticipates new information, dopamine spikes before you even learn it. That means you're not addicted to discovery. You're addicted to the anticipation of discovery. That's why curiosity feels so good at first, and why it drops the moment you get it. The thrill isn't in understanding, it's in approaching understanding. So you end up chasing the approach itself. New concepts, new teachers, new videos. It's a feedback loop. Curiosity, dopamine, satisfaction, drop, craving, curiosity again. And because this pattern happens inside the nervous system, you can't think your way out. You have to rewire it, biologically, energetically, consciously. That's what this journey is. Not another layer of theory, not another mental framework. It's a nervous system retraining. To stop mistaking stimulation for growth, to stop confusing motion with momentum, to learn that peace isn't the end of the path, it's the entry point to real manifestation. Pause for a moment and look at your own habits. How many times today have you checked your phone without thinking? How many times have you switched apps just because silence felt uncomfortable? That's not you being weak. That's the loop running you. And that same loop is running your spiritual search. Every time you reach for more, the signal you broadcast to the quantum field is, I don't have enough. And because reality mirrors your state, it gives you more of the same. More seeking, more chasing, more almost, but not quite. That's why you can feel aligned for a few hours after a video, then fall right back into doubt. Because your nervous system never got the message that safety exists in stillness. But here's the shift. Once you see the pattern, you no longer have to fight it. You just have to recognize that the craving itself, that twitch to move, to scroll, to find something, isn't your intuition. It's chemistry. And chemistry can be changed, not by suppression, but by retraining. The brain learns safety through repetition, not revelation. So instead of searching for the next quantum secret, you begin to train your body to feel safe without stimulus. That's when awareness starts expanding on its own. That's when the field responds. Because what the universe mirrors isn't your thoughts, it's your state. And your state begins where the craving ends. You don't need to run away from the addiction. You just need to watch it. Observe the craving like a scientist watching a ripple in water. Don't judge it. Don't indulge it. Just see it for what it is. A brain trying to feel safe the only way it knows how, through movement. And when you see it clearly enough, the movement starts slowing down. That's not failure. That's healing. In the next part, we're going to reframe this entire cycle. You'll see why the stillness your brain avoids isn't emptiness. It's detox. It's the first phase of rewiring a lifetime of craving into a state of pure coherence. But for now, just notice how many times your mind wants to skip ahead, even here, even now, and realize that's the addiction speaking, not you. Part 3. Why manifestation feels like it doesn't work. You've probably wondered why manifestation seems to work for some people, but not for you. You've visualized, journaled, scripted, affirmed, watched hundreds of videos, yet somehow, reality barely moves. It's not that you're doing it wrong. It's that your state, the chemistry inside your body, is broadcasting two opposite signals at once. On one level, your mind is saying, I'm manifesting abundance, love, clarity. But your nervous system, addicted to movement and searching, is saying, I'm not there yet. So every time you try to manifest, you're unconsciously sending the field a mixed message. Give me more of the journey, not the arrival. And the quantum field, being perfectly neutral, mirrors that frequency exactly. That's why you get more signs, more synchronicities, more almosts, but never the embodiment. Because chemically, you're in anticipation, not reception. And anticipation, that subtle forward lean of the nervous system, is a dopamine posture. It keeps you in preparation energy, not arrival energy. Let's break that down. In neuroscience, the moment before a reward releases the most dopamine, not the reward itself. Your brain is literally more addicted to waiting than to having. And manifestation, when practiced from a place of craving, becomes an endless waiting loop disguised as spirituality. You think you're aligning with the universe, but what you're really aligning with is your own anticipation. This is why so many people get frustrated after a few weeks of doing all the right steps. They meditate, visualize, write affirmations, and when nothing happens, they assume they're not powerful enough, or that the universe isn't listening. But it's listening perfectly. It's just reflecting the chemical truth of your body. Still seeking, still waiting, still chasing. Most manifestation advice misses this completely. It focuses on the mental and the emotional, but forgets the biological signal, the subtle tension of a brain in pursuit. And that pursuit creates energetic static. It's like trying to tune into a frequency while your own transmitter keeps shifting channels every second. Quantum physics calls it observer interference. The act of observing affects the observed. So if your observation, your vibration, is rooted in the chemistry of lack, the field collapses into experiences that reinforce that state. That's not punishment. It's precision. The universe isn't ignoring you. It's echoing you. That's why people say, it works instantly once you stop trying. Because when you stop chasing, your body exits the dopamine chase cycle. Your electromagnetic field stabilizes, and suddenly, the probability you've been waiting for can finally collapse into physical form. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped scrambling the signal. Here's the paradox. The harder you try to manifest, the more you prove to the universe that you don't have it yet. And the more you don't have it yet, the more your body stays addicted to seeking. It's like pushing against a door that only opens inward. The effort itself keeps it closed. So how do you shift this? You begin by realizing that manifestation isn't a technique. It's a state calibration. It's not about forcing your thoughts to be positive. It's about teaching your nervous system what safety feels like without external proof. Because only a regulated nervous system can hold what it's asking for. Think about it. If your body is used to chaos, receiving peace will feel foreign. If your mind is wired for scarcity, abundance will feel unsafe. That's why many people self-sabotage right after they manifest something. Their body hasn't caught up with their vision. The dopamine system is still expecting the thrill of the chase, not the calm of arrival. So when stillness comes, it mistakes it for boredom or loss. But the truth is, stillness isn't absence. It's the landing point. The silence after the song, the exhale after a storm. And that silence is where creation happens. Because in quantum mechanics, all potential exists in the void, the unobserved state of infinite possibility. You can't manifest new outcomes while your awareness is fragmented between dozens of desires and distractions. The field responds to coherence, not confusion. So before you ask for more, ask if your system is ready to receive. Can you hold the feeling of having without chasing the proof of it? Can you sit in the calm so long that it starts to feel familiar, not foreign? That's where manifestation begins to work instantly. Not because the universe suddenly favors you, but because you finally stopped contradicting your own signal. This is also where science and spirit finally meet. In neuroscience, when the brain experiences consistent safety signals, slow breath, relaxed posture, open awareness, dopamine levels stabilize. And when dopamine stabilizes, clarity increases, creativity expands, time perception shifts. In spirituality, that's called alignment. In physics, it's called coherence. Different words, same phenomenon. So the next time you think, it's not working, ask yourself, is it really not working? Or is your nervous system still chasing the next hit of hope? Because if your body is still leaning forward, reality can't land. You're trying to receive with one foot in tomorrow. The fix isn't to give up on manifestation. It's to stop practicing it from the chemistry of craving. Manifestation is meant to be lived, not hunted. It's not something you get. It's something you become. When your brain stops craving more stimulation, your attention stabilizes in the present. And the present is the only place where reality responds. Because the field doesn't hear your words or your wishes. It only mirrors your state. And when your state says, I am here, I already have, the universe answers, then here it is. So if manifestation has felt like an endless loop of trying, waiting, hoping, now you know why. Your body wasn't betraying you. It was protecting you from stillness. Because stillness felt unsafe. But in the next part, we'll begin to shift that safety response, to teach your nervous system that stillness isn't danger, it's delivery. And when that rewiring begins, the field finally has something stable to echo. Part 4, Step 1, Conscious Stopping. 185 words. We're going to do something your brain won't like. We're going to stop. Not just slow down, not think slower, actually stop. For most people, that's harder than any ritual, any affirmation, any quantum technique. Because it means interrupting the reward loop that's been running for years. Your brain has learned that silence means loss, that stillness means nothing is happening. So the moment you stop scrolling, stop reaching, stop thinking, your body panics. That anxiety you feel? It's not spiritual resistance. It's chemical withdrawal. But here's the truth. Withdrawal is proof of rewiring. It's your nervous system realizing it doesn't have to chase every impulse just to feel safe. So today, you're going to practice conscious stopping, the art of doing absolutely nothing on purpose. Find somewhere to sit, anywhere that feels neutral. Don't look for the perfect environment. That's another dopamine trick. The illusion that the setup has to feel right before the shift can happen. It doesn't. All you need is 60 seconds and your own attention. Close your eyes, or keep them half open if that feels safer. Let your hands rest on your lap or on your heart if that helps you anchor. And breathe, not deeply, not perfectly. Just enough to notice the air move in and out. As you do, notice how fast your mind wants to move on. It'll whisper, "This is pointless." It'll nudge you, check your phone. It might even say, "You could be learning something right now." That's the addiction talking. That's your old self defending the illusion that constant movement equals meaning. Keep noticing the urge, but don't obey it. You don't have to fight it. You just have to see it. Every time you notice the impulse and choose not to move, your brain's wiring changes. Microscopically, chemically, energetically. You're teaching your nervous system a new form of safety, one that doesn't depend on stimulation. This is how you begin to receive. Most people believe manifestation requires visualizing the outcome. But the truth is, the field can't send you what you can't sit still to hold. If you can't stay still for 60 seconds, how will you hold the energy of a new life for 60 days? This isn't judgment. It's mechanics. Your body must learn stability before your reality can. When you practice conscious stopping, you create an internal still point, a zero point, where thought and time briefly collapse. Quantum physicists call it superposition, the state where all possibilities coexist before one becomes real. In that still point, your old identity loosens its grip, and the new timeline starts forming. Not through effort, but through permission. And if you're wondering, how can doing nothing create change? Look at nature. A seed doesn't manifest by chasing sunlight. It germinates in darkness, unseen. The pause is not the absence of creation. It's the birthplace of it. So here's your first practice. Simple, measurable, and powerful. For the next 3 mornings, before you touch your phone, do this for 60 seconds. Sit, breathe, and whisper softly, "I am ready to receive." Don't try to believe it. Don't analyze whether it's working. Just say it with awareness, because those 4 words reprogram your nervous system faster than any affirmation can. They tell your body that safety doesn't come from movement. It comes from openness. They tell your mind that there's nothing to find, only something to allow. And they tell the quantum field that your signal is no longer seeking, it's receiving. Now you might notice resistance even as I speak. Part of you might be thinking, this is too simple. But simplicity is what the addicted mind fears most. It can't monetize silence. It can't predict stillness. So it calls it useless. But simplicity is where truth hides. If you do this practice for just 3 days, subtle shifts begin to appear. Not lightning bolts. Not dramatic miracles, small synchronicities. You open your email and the message you needed is there. You think of a friend and they text you out of nowhere. You feel calm in situations that used to trigger anxiety. That's not coincidence. That's coherence forming. That's your inner static clearing enough for reality to mirror something new. Remember, we're not trying to force the universe. We're training the chemistry of attention itself. Because when your attention stabilizes, time bends. What once felt distant starts moving toward you naturally. Not because you demanded it, but because you finally stopped scattering your signal. After this video, try the 60-second practice once. Then, in the comments, write this phrase, "I paused, and something shifted." Not for me, for you. For your subconscious to mark the moment. Because every time you declare your shift out loud, you collapse possibility into probability. It's how the quantum field locks in new behavior patterns. And if you see others commenting the same phrase, acknowledge them. That's how we build coherence across distance. Your nervous system stabilizing helps theirs stabilize too. That's morphic resonance in real time. For now, remember this. Stopping is not losing momentum. It's reclaiming direction. The universe doesn't respond to how fast you move. It responds to how clearly you're tuned. And clarity begins when movement ends. So tomorrow morning, before the world demands your attention again, give yourself those 60 seconds. Because that small act of rebellion, against the craving, against the noise, is where the new frequency of your life starts broadcasting. Part 5, Step 2. Rewire the reward. You've learned how to stop. Now it's time to replace what stopping took away. Because when you interrupt an addiction, any addiction, you create an empty space where the old reward used to live. And the mind, like nature, hates empty space. If you don't consciously refill it, it will drag you back to what's familiar, no matter how destructive it was. So the key isn't just to stop the seeking loop, it's to rewire where your reward comes from. Until now, your brain has been chasing dopamine, that short, sharp hit of stimulation that says, yes, I found it. But dopamine is a sprinter. It runs fast, crashes fast, and leaves you hungry for the next fix. The real transformation happens when you teach your brain to prefer coherence over craving. Coherence isn't exciting, it's satisfying. It's the slow, deep warmth that comes from stillness itself, a chemical symphony between your heart and your brain. Let's make this practical. Place one hand over your heart, not as a symbol, but as a signal, because this simple gesture activates a different neurochemical, serotonin. Where dopamine makes you chase, serotonin helps you stay. It's the molecule of contentment, the body's way of saying, you're safe. You can stop searching now. Take a slow breath in, not to control it, just to notice it. As you exhale, imagine the space around your heart expanding slightly. That's not visualization, that's biology. When you breathe like this, your vagus nerve tells your brain, all is well. Heart rate slows, cortisol drops, the mind quiets. You're literally creating coherence, a harmonic rhythm between brain waves and heartbeat. This is the new reward. Stillness that feels good, calm that feeds you instead of starving you. For most people, this feels foreign at first. They confuse peace with boredom because their nervous system has been trained to crave noise. So when silence arrives, they assume something's missing. But that missing sensation is just the absence of adrenaline. It's not emptiness, it's healing. The old loop rewarded you for chasing. The new loop rewards you for receiving. You're not trying to remove pleasure from life. You're upgrading the source of it, from external stimulation to internal coherence. And the difference is profound. Dopamine spikes collapse quickly, like sparks. Coherence builds slowly, like a sunrise. When you build it daily, you stop being at the mercy of moods, likes, or validation. You stop outsourcing your peace to algorithms and start generating it from within. That's when the quantum field can finally read a stable signal. Because reality doesn't respond to how much you want. It responds to how well you can hold. The longer you can stay in that state of safe stillness, the faster reality reorganizes around you. This is why miracles often happen after breakdowns. When your nervous system finally gives up control, your energy stabilizes long enough for the universe to match it. So here's your second practice, your reward rewiring ritual. Once a day, at any time that feels natural, stop whatever you're doing. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe 3 slow cycles, and silently repeat, "This piece is my new reward." Not because the words are magic, but because repetition builds circuitry. Every time you say it, You teach your neurons that stillness equals safety, that safety equals reward, and reward equals stay. Do this for a week and you'll notice something subtle. You'll start craving calm instead of chaos. You'll find yourself less drawn to the endless scroll and more drawn to quiet moments. A walk, a sunrise, a deep conversation that doesn't need to be shared. Those are signs that the rewiring is working. Your chemistry is changing. Your frequency is stabilizing. This is how you become what the field can respond to. You stop trying to manifest from lack and begin emitting the vibration of already. That's when synchronicities multiply, not because you forced them, but because you finally stopped sending mixed signals. Remember, dopamine drives separation. I want what I don't have. Coherence drives union. I am one with what I desire. That's the shift from manifestation as effort to creation as embodiment. You're not attracting something outside yourself anymore. You're allowing what's already within to express itself through you. Let's anchor this deeper. Think of one area in your life where you've been chasing money, love, success, healing. Now imagine that the very energy you've been chasing it with has been pushing it away. Because the frequency of craving tells the field, keep it out there. Now feel what happens when you stop chasing and breathe into the possibility that it's already here. Not fully visible yet, but vibrationally present. Notice how the body relaxes. That's coherence. That's the moment the wave begins to collapse into form. You can't fake this state. You can only build it, breath by breath, repetition by repetition. And each time you do, you're rewiring the reward system that's kept you stuck in almost. The truth is, you don't need a new manifestation method. You need a new nervous system. After you try the peace reward practice for one day, come back and write this in the comments. My calm feels better than the chase. When you see that line, something rewires, not just in you, but in the field itself. Every declaration like that strengthens what biologists call a morphic resonance, the collective vibration of people choosing coherence over chaos. You're not just practicing for yourself. You're stabilizing reality for everyone connected to you. And if you ever doubt whether something this small can change your life, remember, the entire nervous system of humanity is built on repetition. You're just choosing a different loop, a gentler one that doesn't demand proof before peace, one that finally allows the universe to meet you halfway. Because once you rewire what feels rewarding, your old habits can't survive. The craving loses its fuel, and the energy that used to be scattered across 100 searches finally condenses into presence. That's the beginning of real power. Not power over reality, but power with it. Not control, but communion. Tomorrow, we'll take this even further. We'll learn to act from stillness, to move only when the whisper inside says move, and to rest when it says rest. That's where true manifestation begins, not in effort, but in timing. Part 6. Step 3. Act on stillness. You've stopped. You've started rewiring what feels rewarding. Now it's time to move again, but this time from stillness. Every real shift begins the moment stillness starts speaking. That quiet sense that something inside you already knows. It's not loud. It doesn't rush. It doesn't argue. It feels like a whisper that appears out of nowhere. Calm, certain, without emotion. That whisper is your nervous system and consciousness finally syncing. The moment biology and energy speak the same language. But here's what most people do. They hear that whisper, and then they wait. They analyze it. They wonder if it's the right sign. And while they're thinking, the whisper fades. Because whispers live in the body's present, not the mind's future. Science calls this decision decay. If you don't act on a new insight within about 72 hours, your brain categorizes it as non-essential and deletes the emotional charge that made it meaningful. You remember the idea, but the energy that would have made it real is gone. That's why so many people know what to do, but never do it. It's not laziness, it's neurochemistry. And this applies spiritually too. When you receive guidance in stillness, a sudden urge to call someone, apply for something, take a walk, forgive, release, begin. That moment is your biology aligning with the quantum field. It's the frequency match between readiness and reality. If you move on it quickly, before the doubt returns, you collapse that potential into form. If you hesitate, the signal disperses back into noise. That's what the ancients called missing the window. The 72-hour rule is just the modern language for the same truth. The field responds instantly to coherence, not hesitation. So what does it mean to act from stillness? It doesn't mean impulsivity. It means you act before the mind rebuilds fear. Because fear always rebuilds. Doubt always reappears. But when you move from that first wave of clarity, that calm knowing, your timing is perfect. Not because it's logical, but because it's aligned. The whisper doesn't shout. It repeats softly until you either listen or distract yourself long enough for it to quiet down. If you've ever felt like life gave you a nudge and you ignored it, and later you said, "I knew I should have done that," that was the whisper. It's not punishment. It's feedback. The field was mirroring your own inner certainty, waiting for you to trust it. You see, manifestation isn't just about thinking right. It's about trusting faster. Every intuitive nudge you follow strengthens the connection between your prefrontal cortex and your heart's electromagnetic field. You're literally creating a feedback loop of confidence. And each act of trust tells your body, stillness is safe to move from. That's how spiritual guidance becomes biological programming. So here's your next practice. It's not a ritual, it's an experiment. For the next few days, pay attention to what arises after your 60-second stillness. Don't force ideas. Just notice what small action feels clear. Not exciting, not urgent, just right. It might be to text someone you haven't talked to in months, to clean a drawer, to write a message, to take a walk without your phone. Don't overthink it. Just do it within 72 hours. Not because the universe will punish you if you don't, but because momentum decays, energy dissipates, and when you act on guidance while it's fresh, you reinforce the neural pathway that says, clarity equals movement. And here's something fascinating. As you do this, you'll begin to notice a rhythm, a pattern of timing that feels orchestrated. You'll send a message, and the person will say, "I was just thinking about you." You'll take a detour, and it leads to the conversation you needed. That's not luck. That's resonance. When your actions are born from stillness, you enter quantum flow, the precise coordination of time, energy, and opportunity. In this state, life stops feeling like constant effort. It starts feeling like response. You begin to sense when to move and when to wait, when to speak and when to listen. It's a conversation, not a chase. You're no longer forcing manifestation, you're participating in creation. But to reach this rhythm, you have to act while the signal is pure. Not after you've discussed it with 5 people, not after you've rationalized it into comfort. Because by then, it's not a whisper anymore. It's a concept. And concepts don't change reality. Signals do. Acting from stillness also builds self-trust, faster than any affirmation ever could. Every time you follow through, even on something small, your body registers, "My intuition is reliable." Your confidence grows not through success, but through obedience to your own inner timing. And the more you honor those micro-guidances, the louder your deeper knowing becomes. You'll also notice another effect. Synchronicities increase in density. Opportunities start showing up not as random events, but as mirror responses. Each one confirms that your signal is being heard. Because the universe doesn't speak in language, it speaks in alignment. And when you align thought, emotion, and action into one clean movement, the field mirrors that precision back to you instantly. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. The impulse you feel right now, the one that says, "I need to start," or "I need to stop," or "I need to reach out," that's your signal. That's the whisper. You don't need more proof. You just need to move before your mind convinces you not to. Because the longer you wait, the louder the noise returns. And noise is what collapses clarity. But every time you choose clarity over noise, something reprograms, not in the sky, but in your synapses. You're building a new chemistry of trust. So here's the truth most people miss. Stillness isn't the opposite of movement. It's the source of intelligent movement. You don't have to chase flow. You become flow. You stop seeking signs because you start living as one. For now, remember this. If you can act on just one whisper this week, one quiet truth that keeps repeating itself inside you, your entire field begins to shift. Because action born from stillness is the fastest frequency available to you. It tells the universe, "I trust what I receive." And when you trust what you receive, the universe trusts you back. Part 7. From Craving to Coherence. You may not realize it yet, but something inside you has already shifted. The urge to seek is quieter. The craving to find what's next doesn't grip as hard. That's not just mindset, it's physics. Your energy field is reorganizing itself around a new signal, stillness. When you stop chasing and start listening, your entire frequency changes. And because the universe is a mirror, reality has no choice but to adjust to match it. What used to feel like chaos now begins to form patterns. What once felt random starts to make sense. That's coherence, when everything begins to resonate in rhythm with you. Most people live in what scientists call quantum noise. Their thoughts, emotions, and actions are out of sync. They want peace, but their nervous system broadcasts stress. They affirm abundance, but their chemistry screams lack. The result? Static. Their signal to the quantum field becomes like a radio station that keeps changing channels. And the field can't respond to static. It needs a clear tone. Think of coherence as tuning a string instrument. When one string is off, the entire song sounds wrong, no matter how well you play. But when each string vibrates at its natural frequency, harmony happens without effort. That's what's starting to occur within you. Your mind, body, and energy are beginning to tune to the same note. Quantum physics calls this phase alignment. Neuroscience calls it synchronization. Spirituality calls it flow. They all describe the same phenomenon, order arising from stillness. Here's what's fascinating. Coherence isn't something you achieve, It's something that naturally returns when interference ends. When the noise of craving fades, order emerges on its own. Your body, your relationships, even your environment start reflecting a new pattern. You'll notice small things first: timing aligning, people calling, synchronicities stacking. It's not magic, it's resonance. You've become a clear broadcast tower, and the universe finally knows what station to tune to. This is what quantum entanglement looks like in human terms. In physics, entangled particles mirror each other instantaneously, even across vast distances. When one changes its spin, the other adjusts immediately. No delay, no signal traveling between them. They're not connected by matter, they're connected by state. You and your desires work the same way. They're entangled at the level of consciousness. The moment you stabilize your inner state, your outer reality must synchronize, not gradually, but instantly at the energetic level. It might take time for matter to rearrange, but energetically, it's already done. That's why alignment feels peaceful, not exciting. Excitement is the last burst of dopamine before an old timeline dies. Peace is the heartbeat of coherence taking over. And coherence is magnetic. It draws toward you what belongs to your frequency and gently repels what doesn't. You'll notice people or habits falling away without conflict. Things that used to trigger you simply dissolve. That's the field rebalancing. Nothing is lost, only dissonance. You're not becoming someone new. You're remembering what you sound like when you're not distorted by noise. In this state, reality begins to feel orchestrated. Events that once seemed random align with uncanny precision. You think of someone, they text. You set an intention, the opportunity appears. Not because you forced it, but because your signal is finally strong enough to reach them. This is also why coherence feels so still, because motion is happening around you, not within you. You've shifted from being the storm to being the eye of it. Life still moves, but you remain steady. Decisions become clearer, not because you analyze more, but because the answer feels obvious. You stop debating between choices because the right one simply has no resistance. In this phase, the universe becomes less about manifesting and more about mirroring. You're not calling things in, you're allowing what matches your frequency to appear. And when you live here long enough, you start to see the deeper beauty. Manifestation was never about getting things. It was training your consciousness to remember its creative rhythm. Here's the key distinction. Craving comes from scarcity. It says, I need to reach something outside of me. Coherence comes from wholeness. It says, everything I need is already vibrating within me. One pulls reality, the other radiates it. And radiation is effortless. It doesn't chase, it shines. As your nervous system adapts to this still coherence, your perception of time also shifts. Moments stretch. You stop rushing toward the next thing, because each second feels complete. That's what mystics call the eternal now, but you don't have to mystify it. It's simply your prefrontal cortex synchronizing with your heart rhythm. When those two patterns match, you stop projecting into future fear and start feeling present safety. And presence is the only state the field responds to. This is why people who meditate regularly or practice conscious stillness often appear lucky. They're not lucky. They're coherent. They don't create more. They distort less. They're not changing the laws of the universe. They're finally obeying them. You've probably noticed that your desires feel different now. They don't burn with urgency. They breathe. They feel quieter, but closer. That's not apathy. That's resonance. When you no longer chase what you want can finally find you. The quantum field isn't a vending machine where you insert effort and get a result. It's an echo chamber of consciousness. Whatever frequency you maintain, it amplifies. And coherence is the purest frequency of all, the absence of contradiction. So when you start seeing those little synchronicities, don't dismiss them. They're proof that the field is updating to match you. Every small alignment is a confirmation that your broadcast is being heard loud and clear. A call from someone at the right time, a door opening without you knocking, a sense of calm that appears for no reason. That's not coincidence. That's communication. You're finally speaking the universe's native language. Coherence. No translation, no distortion, just resonance. And the best part? You don't have to hold it through force. Coherence sustains itself when you stop interfering. It's not fragile, it's foundational. You just need to keep clearing space for it. Less craving, less proving, less trying to fix what was never broken. Because the truth is, nothing was ever missing from your signal. It was just drowned in noise. Now, as the noise fades, you can finally hear yourself again. And that sound, that subtle hum of presence, is the tone the universe has been waiting to match. Part 8. Flow over force. Have you noticed how exhausting it is to keep pushing? To keep planning, controlling, strategizing, trying to bend life into shape through sheer willpower. That's the old model. That's force. And it's what most of the world is addicted to. But there's another rhythm. One that doesn't require effort, only awareness. It's what mystics and scientists alike call flow. Flow isn't a state you enter. It's the natural rhythm of the universe when you stop resisting it. It's not about doing less. It's about doing only when the energy is right. In quantum terms, force is resistance. Every time you act from anxiety or urgency, you send a signal of turbulence into the field. You might still get results, but they come with friction, delays, complications, exhaustion. Because your actions are out of phase with reality's natural timing. Flow, on the other hand, is coherence in motion. It's when your timing and the universe's timing synchronize perfectly, when the energy behind your action carries you instead of you carrying it. Here's the paradox. You can't force flow. The moment you try to make it happen, it disappears. Flow arrives when effort ends. You've probably felt glimpses of it before. Those moments when everything just clicks. When you say the right thing without thinking. When the right person calls at the right moment. When a project unfolds smoother than you planned. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. You weren't thinking your way through it. You were tuned in. In neuroscience, flow is a measurable state. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that overthinks and overcontrols, goes quiet. Your brain waves shift into alpha and theta frequencies, the same rhythms found in deep meditation. Dopamine and endorphins rise, but in balance, enough to keep you alert, not addicted. It's the chemistry of effortless excellence, and it happens naturally when you stop fighting your own current. The quantum equivalent is called resonant action. Every moment in time carries its own energy signature. When your state matches the moment, everything you touch amplifies. When it doesn't, everything resists. That's why even the same action can produce completely different outcomes depending on when and how you do it. Most people misunderstand this and think flow means waiting passively. It doesn't. Flow is not laziness, it's precision. It's knowing that timing isn't found on your calendar, it's found in your nervous system. When your body feels open, your breath is steady, your awareness is relaxed, that's your green light. When you're tense, contracted, rushing, that's your red light. The universe doesn't need you to move faster, it needs you to move accurately. This is where the concept of the quantum flow calendar comes in. You don't need astrology or complex algorithms. Your body is the most accurate calendar there is. Every morning, when you enter stillness, you're syncing with the universal field. You'll notice that some days feel magnetic. Calls connect, doors open, ideas land easily. Other days feel heavy, resistance everywhere. That's not bad luck. It's feedback. It's the field telling you when to act and when to integrate. So instead of forcing progress every day, try living by this rhythm. Expansion days, when energy feels fast, inspired, forward. These are for initiating, making the call, launching the idea, saying yes. Integration days, when energy feels slow, quiet, uncertain. These are for reflection, cleaning, organizing, letting the last wave settle before the next one rises. When you align your actions with your actual energetic state, productivity doubles. Not because you do more, but because you stop swimming against the current. This is the difference between linear time and quantum time. Linear time says, every day must be productive. Quantum time says, every moment has its purpose. In linear time, you measure life in hours and deadlines. In quantum time, you measure it in alignment and resonance. One drains you, the other restores you. This is how high performers and mystics end up talking about the same thing. One calls it peak performance, the other calls it surrender. But they're describing the same alignment, the collapse of resistance between self and source. The truth is, your highest productivity is born in your deepest presence. When you stop trying to make life move, it moves through you. Because life itself is intelligent. It knows the sequence, the order, the timing. Your job isn't to control that intelligence, but to cooperate with it. The more coherent your field becomes, the more precise this cooperation gets. Opportunities arrive exactly when you're ready for them. Not before, not after. People show up who speak the same frequency you've been practicing internally. You stop trying to manifest specific things and start aligning with specific states. And the states do the manifesting for you. That's what flow over force really means. You're no longer pushing reality, you're gliding with it. You've learned to surf the quantum waves instead of swimming against them. It's not about control, it's about choreography. And once you learn this choreography, you start trusting the pauses as much as the movements. You realize that silence isn't stagnation, it's synchronization. The pause before the next wave is when life aligns the pieces for you. If you act too soon, you disrupt the order. If you wait too long, the wave passes. But when you move right as the energy crests, everything accelerates. That's what flow feels like. Acceleration without effort. Time stretches, coincidences multiply. Work becomes play. And because you're no longer wasting energy on resistance, your creativity, intuition, and emotional intelligence skyrocket. You start to feel guided, not by fate, but by resonance. This is also when purpose becomes effortless. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start sensing, "What wants to happen through me?" That's the moment you become the instrument, not the player. Life plays through you, and you just follow the rhythm. So from now on, instead of planning every step, practice tuning every morning. Use stillness as your calibration point. Listen for the signal. When it's clear, move. When it's quiet, rest. That's your quantum flow calendar, guided not by pressure, but by precision. Because the universe doesn't reward effort, it rewards alignment. And alignment is the absence of force. You don't have to make things happen. You just have to stop interrupting what's already trying to. Part 9. Authentic creation. There comes a point on every awakening path where you stop wanting to manifest and you start wanting to be real. Not perfect, not enlightened, just real. Because the deeper you go into stillness, the more you realize that everything you thought you wanted was just a reflection of who you thought you had to be. The car, the money, the success, the admiration, all symbols of safety in a world addicted to performance. But you're not here to perform. You're here to express, and expression begins where performance ends. For years, your personality, your small self, has been trying to create life from craving. Craving validation, craving control, craving security. It's the same dopamine loop, just dressed in spiritual clothes. You meditate not to listen, but to feel worthy. You visualize not to receive, but to escape the discomfort of not having. That's not creation. That's compensation. Authentic creation starts when you no longer use reality to prove your worth. When your sense of being becomes enough reason to exist. From there, everything you do stops being manipulation and starts being expression. This is the paradox. When you no longer need results to feel real, your results become extraordinary. Because the field finally mirrors truth, not pretense. And truth has no resistance. The universe doesn't respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you are. When you live in coherence, you broadcast honesty at a frequency that reality can't ignore. It bends to match you because there's nothing left to distort. Think of it like music. When a note is pure, it vibrates everything around it into harmony. But when the note is forced, off-key, or sharp with insecurity, it clashes. That's why authenticity feels magnetic. It doesn't seek attention, it draws resonance. This is what it means to be a conscious creator. You're no longer chasing outcomes, you're allowing essence. You speak not to convince, but to reveal. You act not to prove, but to participate. And reality responds because your intention no longer carries the static of need. Here's the beautiful irony. The moment you stop trying to be spiritual, you become naturally aligned, because alignment isn't something to achieve. It's what remains when you stop pretending. When the masks drop, coherence rises. When the craving stops, creation starts. In neuroscience, this mirrors what happens when the default mode network in the brain relaxes. That's the part responsible for self-referencing, the constant inner narrator. When it quiets down, creativity expands. The same thing happens energetically. When your ego softens, life begins to move through you instead of you trying to move life. You stop identifying as the artist and start recognizing yourself as the instrument. That's authentic creation. When the divine plays through your human form, you don't control the melody, you become the melody. And this kind of creation is contagious. People feel it. They may not understand why they're drawn to you, but they can sense the absence of agenda. Your presence becomes medicine, not because you're trying to heal anyone, but because you've stopped leaking energy through pretense. In this state, even your silence speaks. Your words carry weight not from cleverness, but from clarity. Your actions align because they're not rushed by fear. You've stepped out of reaction and into resonance. That's the frequency of authentic power. Quiet, grounded, undeniable. It's also the most misunderstood. Because in a culture addicted to noise, authenticity looks like rebellion. You won't fit the algorithm. You won't please everyone. And that's the point. When you stop feeding on approval, you start feeding reality with truth. And truth always recalibrates everything it touches. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It becomes precise, aligned. The wrong people fade away. The right ones find you without effort. Opportunities start to organize themselves around your integrity, not your hustle. Because the field favors authenticity, it amplifies clarity and filters confusion. And yes, you'll still have challenges, but you'll face them differently. Not from, why is this happening to me? But from, what part of me is this inviting me to express? That shift changes everything, because life stops being a problem to fix and becomes a mirror to deepen. Let me tell you something that took me years to understand. Your purpose isn't what you do, it's what you radiate. If you're radiating coherence, love, and truth, anything you touch carries that energy. It could be a conversation, a painting, a business, a moment of silence. All of it becomes a channel of creation. Because creation isn't limited to artists or teachers. It's the natural expression of consciousness through form. And here's the deeper layer. Authenticity includes your shadow too. You don't become real by being positive all the time. You become real by being whole, by letting even your doubts, fears, and contradictions exist in light without shame. That's the full spectrum of creation, the divine expressing through your humanity. You don't have to transcend your flaws to be authentic. You just have to stop hiding them. When you live this way, your energy field stabilizes in truth. And truth is the only frequency that doesn't decay. Everything else, appearances, opinions, roles, changes. But authenticity sustains itself because it's rooted in reality, not performance. So if you've spent years chasing the next technique, the next timeline, the next awakening, this is where the chase ends. You've arrived, not at a destination, but at your own center. The place where being and doing finally merge, where creation happens not because you try, but because you are. And that's the most powerful state a human can inhabit. Not manifesting reality, but embodying it. Part 10. The return. A new signal you've made it this far. And if you're still here, it's not because of luck or curiosity or coincidence. It's because something inside you recognized itself in these words. Not a concept, not a philosophy, but a frequency you've been carrying all along, one that's finally awake again. This isn't the end of a video. It's the moment you start broadcasting a new signal. You've seen what happens when craving runs the show. The endless seeking, the restless mind, the quiet exhaustion of always searching for the next thing. You've felt what it's like to stop, to breathe, to listen, and you've tasted the stillness that your mind once called boring, but your soul now calls home. That stillness is your real baseline. It's who you were before the noise, before algorithms taught your brain to chase, before you were convinced that you needed more to be enough. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It's the presence of intelligence. It's life, unfiltered. Now that you've found it, your only task is to remember. Because the world will try to pull you back into motion. Your phone will flash. Your feed will tempt. Your mind will whisper, "You're falling behind." But you're not behind. You're ahead. Because you've stopped running in circles. You've stepped out of the old frequency. The one that said, "Do more, chase more, be more." And you've entered the signal that simply says, "I am." That signal is powerful. It's clean. It's coherent. And the universe recognizes it instantly. When you live from that place, reality reorganizes itself around you, not through magic, but through resonance. People who match your calm start finding you. Opportunities that align with your authenticity begin to appear effortlessly. You become a stabilizing frequency in a world addicted to chaos. And here's the truth. That's your real contribution. Not the content you post, not the work you produce, not the roles you play, but the energy you emit. Every regulated nervous system becomes a beacon that helps others regulate. Every act of presence ripples across the collective field. That's quantum entanglement in its purest form. Consciousness synchronizing with consciousness. You're no longer here to manifest things. You're here to transmit coherence. Because when enough people hold that signal, the world's baseline shifts. Anxious energy calms. Truth rises through the static. Love starts feeling safe again. That's why this video found you. Not to teach you something new, but to remind you of what your system already knew. You don't need to chase your higher self. You've become it. Every breath, every act of stillness, every whisper you've trusted has led you here. To the version of you that no longer performs awakening, but quietly embodies it. Now the question becomes simple. Will you keep this signal alive? You don't need to isolate yourself or meditate for hours or escape society. Just return, again and again, to stillness. When the world gets loud, return. When your mind races, return. When you doubt your path, return. Because the act of returning is the practice. Each return strengthens the signal, widens the field, rewires your chemistry, until stillness stops being a practice and becomes your nature. That's the real awakening. Not escaping the human, but infusing the human with presence. You still have desires, responsibilities, emotions, but they no longer control you. You move with them, not from them. That's what coherence looks like in motion. And if you ever forget, come back to this. Not as a video, but as a mirror. Because this isn't content. It's a reflection of your own frequency. It's your reminder that peace isn't something you earn. It's what remains when you stop performing. So let's mark this moment. Not as an ending, but as an initiation. Right now, take one deep breath, in through the nose, out through the heart. And say quietly, "I am home." That's your final declaration. Not to me, not to the algorithm, but to the quantum field. Because when you speak truth into stillness, the entire field adjusts. You become part of the morphic network that makes peace more accessible for others. If you feel this message resonated, if something inside you recognized itself here, then I invite you to anchor it publicly. Write this phrase in the comments. I am the new signal. That's not just engagement. It's embodiment. A public commitment to live from coherence instead of craving. A subtle but powerful ripple across the collective consciousness. And if you want to keep deepening this frequency, subscribe, not to a channel, but to a way of living. Because every video here isn't just information. It's calibration. A space to remind your nervous system how truth feels. Together, we're not chasing enlightenment, We're remembering alignment. So breathe one more time. Feel your heartbeat. You are the observer, the transmitter, the field itself, all at once. You've never been separate from what you've been seeking. You were simply broadcasting the wrong frequency. Now you've tuned back, and the field has heard you. Welcome home. Welcome to coherence. Welcome to the new signal.